Thank you for tuning in to another video by yours truly, Toby, the so-called artist. Hi, it's me, Toby, the so-called artist, and I am back again with another YouTube video. Yay! I've just been bouncing back and forth between just work and sleeping and hanging out with my friends this summer, so that's been pretty fun. I will be taking the fall semester off, and I think maybe the spring. I might just be taking a whole year off of college again. You know how it is, they cut the FAFSA, so I gotta wait to save up money so I can afford to finish college, but it's no biggie. Some people, it just takes longer for them to finish college, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I'll be around a little bit more to make videos and such, so yay. Today, actually, for this video, I'm going to be finishing this Supergirl spread. I really enjoyed watching the movie. My only critique that I will give is that I didn't like the song they picked for the fight scene. Me personally, when I saw the scene come up, I thought they were going to play Pocket Full of Sunshine. I'm not joking. I saw the sunlight and I really did think they were going to play Pocket Full of Sunshine. But I like the vibe that it had, and I just like the movie overall. So I'm gonna finish this spread, and then I'm gonna gush and talk about Supergirl, and that's it. That's all I'm gonna do today. Alright, let's get into the art process. I do want to cut in a little bit before I start the full art process and say that I still have my GoFundMe up. If anyone is able to help donate to help me pay off this medical bill, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just gonna go out and say it straight off the bat. I loved the Supergirl movie. It was such a breath of fresh air. And I know that's going to sound weird to some people, but hear me out. Let me cook. I love Supergirl the same way I like Fiona from Fiona and Cake, because you have their gender-bent, familiar counterpart that's praised for being flawed or being overly nice and always being the good person. And then when they come along, they're both women, and then they're also flawed. They have their problems, they have issues, they're girl failures. And I love a girl failure, because we have to put up with like guys being mediocre 90% of the time, so I'm allowed to have my girl failures too. If I gotta watch if I have to see one more underdog man who does not deserve a victory win something, I can watch a girl get white girl wasted and then still come out on top. And I think that's like the fun of Supergirl. And everyone wants like comic book accuracy, but they never go this hard for criticizing the males. They never criticize those boy movies with their male superheroes who, mind you, they constantly mix, mash, and retcon. I think it's retcon. Yeah, they retcon a bunch of stuff, and they're like, oh, well, it's referencing this comic and this comic at the same time. So it's not perfectly comic book accurate. It's, however the director wanted to make the movie. And a lot of people can't accept that. Sometimes you just need to acknowledge that you're not in the director's chair. This movie was made with not just you in mind. It was made for a plethora of people to enjoy. And sometimes you're just not the target audience. You gotta sit back and chill. This is for the girls, the gays, the theys, and people who have a heart. If you hate on Supergirl, I assume you are heartless. And for those of you who can't understand a joke, it's just a joke. I know people get like real butthurt about things like that, but you have to understand, it's the internet. You don't have to be that serious. And it's also my opinion, which I would like to remind everyone does not have to be true or false. That's a fact. These are my opinions. Alright, now that the line art is done, I have to give it a little bit of time to dry because I don't want to jump straight into coloring because then it might mix too much with the ink. So I will be back as soon as this finishes drying. And we're back. It has been undetermined amount of time as I let the line art dried and I proceeded to just draw and do a bunch of other stuff. I think the day that this video will go out, I will also have another short on my channel because I got obsessed with making travel journals. I've made a couple before, mostly with fabric, and I've did 1 or 2 of them with pencil cases, and since Dollar Tree has these new like plastic kind of pencil cases, I decided to make one. This one is themed after one of my favorite Sanrio characters, Usahana. This is a gift from one of my friends. You know who you are. Hey! And then inside this book, I decided to test out, not yet, I'm going to be testing it later, sketch wallet paper. My local art store started carrying their pocket notebooks, not the wallets themselves because they are a bit more expensive. They're just doing a test run of these books, and I figured since it's here, I can finally get my hands on it and see how I like the paper. These are rainbow paper. I don't know if it's like a specific release that they did, but these are rainbow, and it has a textured cover. As you can see, it's kind of raised, and I really like that. And I figured rainbow, it's Usahana, these will go quite nicely together. But you guys didn't come here to hear me yap about journals and sketchbooks. You came here to watch me finish this art spread, and that I shall do. Alright, we're going to get into the coloring process. I've already put pieces of cardstock underneath the pages so that the ink doesn't bleed onto the following pages. It's going to bleed through the back. There's nothing we can do about it. We just accept it as it is. Yes. Because the only way for it to not bleed through is if I use like marker paper. I think it's like render paper. But I tried render paper before, but you know what? Once again, we're not here to talk about sketchbooks and stuff. I have to get to the artwork. I gotta focus. I gotta lock in. And lock in I did. Oh my gosh, I locked in so hard with doing this illustration that I came up with my own headcanons for the Kryptonians. Because, okay, once again, sit back down at the dinner table. I am cooking up another meal. Just hear me out. So, if the Kryptonians are so directly influenced by the nearest star, okay, I think that they should be prisms, like glass, or they should probably look more like Emma Frost does when she activates her full like diamond skills or mutant powers. I just think it would look really cool and also makes a lot more sense because, you know, with prisms they refract and some colors absorb light. On like a different note, I think the more powerful a Kryptonian would be, the darker they would be, because the darker colors absorb more light. So, you know, there could be a Kryptonian out there that looks kind of like Void does, you know, with for those of you who don't know, Void is like Depression incarnate from the Thunderbolts, and with Sentry, that's like that whole thing going on. But I think if they were solid black, they'd have absorbed the most amount of light, ergo, they'd have the strongest powers because they, you know, they're fully charged. They're ready to go. So, you know, everyone's arguing about what race the Kryptonians would be. I think they should be diamond people. You know, little crystals and stuff. It makes a lot of sense given, you know, Superman's Fortress of Solitude. I know when it crash landed it became that shape, but it would be even cooler if they were crystal people and his home looked like crystals and everything was shiny, but I would illustrate that. However, I would need a lot of practice with coloring prisms to figure all of that out. Outside of that, whenever I draw Supergirl, I get the urge to also draw Crypto because, like, that's her dog. She's like John Wick and her dog. You can't have one without the other. It's crucial to their character development. And I was beaten by trying to draw a normal dog because I draw a bunch of furry characters and, you know, monster characters, but drawing a normal looking dog is the thing that sent me. I have done a couple of studies on my own, and at this point I had to reference like Disney's Lady and the Tramp and also like Oliver and Co. because I just needed a simple, cute dog reference, and all the dog references I was pulling up were like realistic dogs, and I'm like, that's very nice, but I need to make him look cartoony. He needs to look cartoony to kind of match my style. Honestly, those were the biggest struggles. That and my markers are dying, mostly my blues. I do a lot of like blue illustrations, and my markers were on their last leg, but they are expensive, so I haven't exactly had the time or money to just buy new markers. And I know like it doesn't look like it because, you know, I do so many different art projects and stuff, but the cost of things is very different. Like a $2 plastic pencil case from Dollar Tree is different than an $8 marker, like an alcohol marker, or buying a $50 to $60 set of like 40 markers or such. And I don't want to buy big sets like that because I already have a lot of markers as is that I've gotten over the years, and I don't want to just like get another big set because I feel like I'm not gonna get to all the colors. Like I'm just now like getting through a majority of the colors that I had in my Artex set. So I figured that once I run out of a color, that's it. I'm not going to try to replace it. I'm just going to use a different color. You know, got to use your art supplies until you have nothing left. And I think that's one of the little drawbacks of being primarily a traditional artist. I do digital art, and I know that it has its advantages. I just don't like it as much. It's like a mental thing and also a physical thing. Like staring at a computer screen for the same amount of hours that it takes me to create and then finish an illustration feels worse than if I'm sitting at my desk and I have like my sketchbook out and I can sketch for hours in my sketchbook, but I can barely do like maybe 2 hours on like my iPad. So it is a learning curve, a little process. I'm working to balance everything out. And I've been sketching a lot in my travel journal. This one I'm using is the Lord of the Rings, or like Lord of the Rings / Hobbit, because it's the Bilbo Baggins version of the little journal. That's kind of why I didn't have the sketch recorded for you guys to see. I've been just drawing in my bed because I can just like prop my little table adjuster up on my lap, and I've just been drawing in bed. And there isn't exactly a good way for me to record that while I'm sitting in bed. And I also don't want to record my bed while I draw, you know? You guys get my desk, maybe my chair, and that's it. All in all, the rest of my coloring process went pretty smoothly. My red Copic marker was behaving a little weird. You guys can't tell, but it kind of like gets like this, it's like the nib has these little like bits, like paper bits, or it's like it's bubbling on it. I don't know why it does that. It's only happened to like a couple of alcohol markers I've gotten. They'll bubble up, which is weird. So I'll have to see if I can like remove it later on, but hey, it is what it is. Going into the colors that I picked for the whole illustration, obviously I'm gonna stick to the primaries. You got red, you got blue, and you got yellow. Those are like the titular things that make, you know, a super spread. But when it came to like the other clothing, like the casual clothing, I just went with whatever colors made sense. So I did like greens and blues. I did a little bit of pinks here and there just to soften everything up. But that's pretty much it. I didn't really have to think too hard when it came to finishing this like spread, because it's fan art of other characters, which I feel like makes it easier for me at least to finish an art spread, because I don't have to focus so much on picking out the colors because I already have a reference. Like, I don't need to worry about what colors would look good with this hairstyle, or what colors would look good with this face shape, or, you know, what's their build and how the outfits are going to fit on them. It's already right there. I just have to translate it into my style, and whew, that does take a load off with the whole creative mental process. Oh, another thing. Funny enough, this isn't exactly, I wouldn't say it's super related to Supergirl, but it is a direct response to seeing the Supergirl movie, and that is me shipping my Pink Lantern, or Star Sapphire? Yes, Star Sapphire Corp OC with Lobo. It came out of nowhere. I blame Jason Momoa, okay? Because I'll be the first to say it. He was really hot as Lobo in the movie. He showed up kind of like how I would say Tuxedo Mask would show up in Sailor Moon. He shows up, he saves the day, in quotation marks, and then it's just like, you didn't do anything. And then he leaves. And he's just like sitting there, like watching everything happen around him. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I love him. And he has these little fangs. I love those little fang things. So I was like, I think I'm crushing on him. But in like he's a hot hobo kind of way. Like, I wouldn't trust Lobo with my life. I'd barely trust him with $20. But as a fictional character, I will ship him with my self-insert OC because I think it's funny. And it started this whole thing of me just drawing like thirst edits of him. And now I'm doing this whole series on TikTok called Fanart Frenzy, where I've just been doing fan art for a bunch of different DC characters that I haven't seen, or at least my fans haven't seen a lot of fan art of, which has been fun. If you haven't checked it out, you should head over to my TikTok, because I post a lot more there than I do on YouTube. It's mostly like it takes a lot more work to make a long form video, in my opinion, than a short form video, because like short form I can like do like a 2-second clip at a close-up angle and then do a cool transition, whereas when I do my YouTube videos, I want to show you guys the whole process, because like YouTube is meant to be enjoyed on like a computer screen, maybe a TV screen if you have it. I personally think YouTube is for my computer. So I make these videos so that you guys can experience and watch my full art process. Or at least not my full art process, because there is a lot I do behind the scenes that I sometimes have to cut out. Because sometimes when you're making art, it is just you staring at the page, looking at your art supplies, and looking back at the page, because like you got to do those mental equations, and you got to jump through hoops and go through obstacle courses just so you can like visualize and picture what exactly you want to do on that page. I know I've kind of just been rambling my like full unfiltered thought process this entire time, but I do hope that you guys are enjoying listening to me talk. And just like, this is just how I talk normally. I like bounce between different subjects and topics. I do not script these, if you couldn't tell. And I just wanted to keep it real, keep it normal, casual even, because this is just something I wanted to do for fun. So I am grateful for everyone who comes and watches my YouTube videos. I know it's not the most visually impressive, as I've realized that my camera was out of focus for a large portion of this coloring process, and I can't go back and fix it because the coloring is already done. So I apologize. I swear next video will have crystal clear, fully focused drawing. It was just, I usually shoot with like my overhead light, so the lighting and the positioning of my camera is different, but for this whole process I decided to use like natural lighting from my window, and so I had to move the camera a certain way, and I didn't even look at my phone at all, not once. I didn't check the footage as I was coloring. I locked in, as I said earlier. But if you guys have any questions about my art process, feel free to ask them down below. Or if you have any like requests or suggestions for future YouTube videos, I am open to listening. And if I have the time, I'm down to clown. You know what they say. I do also want to give a shout out to my Chewy Art Club members on Ko-fi. This is the people who donate $2 a month to help support me. They get access to behind the scenes content and exclusive YouTube videos, which I will be starting back up. Had to take a break from those, sorry. But I want to say thank you to Sleeping for the Weekend. You have been like my #1 supporter for all that I've had the Chewy Art Club opened, and I'm very grateful. Ta-da! And here is my finished spread. I thought about doing more like writing in between the drawings, but I couldn't think of what to say, so I just left it blank. We have our not a morning person and our morning person. And I did write one thing up here. It was the I don't have to meet your expectations to accomplish greatness, which I think is an important thing to think about, especially as they do different movies of different characters and stuff. And I also think it's an important thing to keep in mind as a person. You don't have to meet someone else's expectations for you to be great at something, for you to even be good at something. So, I want to thank everyone for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!